The gleaming Imperial warship cut through Earth's clouds like a knife, descending toward the United Earth Government headquarters in Geneva. Its hull sparkled with strange energy fields that human scientists couldn't explain. At least, that's what the aliens believed. Admiral Park sat at the large oak table, her uniform crisp and her expression carefully blank. Around her, Earth's leaders waited nervously. This was humanity's first official contact with the Galactic Empire, an alien civilization that claimed to rule over 300 star systems. The delegation of blue-skinned aliens entered the room with an air of superiority. They wore elaborate uniforms covered in medals and insignia. Their leader, Grand Marshal Tellen, stood nearly 7 feet tall with 4 arms and eyes that shimmered like black opals. "We welcome you to Earth," said Admiral Park, rising to greet them. Tellen barely acknowledged her greeting. His eyes scanned the room with obvious disappointment. "Your civilization has achieved basic spaceflight. Somewhat impressive for such a young species," he said through his translator device. His voice sounded metallic and cold, "though your technology is primitive." Secretary Choi, Earth's diplomatic chief, smiled politely. "We do our best with what we have, Grand Marshal." Over the next 3 days, the Imperial delegation examined Earth's military capabilities, or rather, the capabilities Earth chose to show them. They inspected orbital defense platforms, fusion-powered destroyers, and Earth's kinetic weapons systems. Each demonstration was met with barely hidden smirks and whispers among the alien visitors. "Are your vessels still use chemical propellants?" asked one Imperial officer, not bothering to hide his amusement. "How quaint." Admiral Park nodded. "As I said, we work with what we have." On the final day, the Imperial delegation called for a formal meeting. The Grand Hall was filled with Earth's top officials and military leaders. Tellen stood before them, towering and confident. "The Galactic Empire has considered your world's position," he announced. "We offer you protection under our banner. You will provide resources and accept our authority. In exchange, we will guide your development and defend you from threats you cannot possibly understand." The room fell silent. Everyone looked to Admiral Park. "And if we decline?" she asked quietly. Tellen's upper arms crossed while his lower hands clasped behind his back. "That would be unfortunate for your species. The galaxy is dangerous. Unprotected worlds often suffer tragic fates. The threat hung in the air, clear to everyone present." "We request time to consider your generous offer," Admiral Park said, her voice betraying no emotion. "Our global government must discuss this properly." Tellen seemed annoyed but nodded. "You have 6 months to reach the correct decision. We will leave a diplomatic vessel in orbit to await your answer." After the aliens departed the room, Secretary Choi turned to Park. "They think we're helpless." "Good," Park replied. "Let them think that." Later that night, in a hidden facility 2 kilometers beneath the Antarctic ice, Earth's true leadership gathered. The room was shielded against all known forms of surveillance. Only 20 humans on the entire planet had clearance to enter. "The Empire has classified us exactly as we hoped," Admiral Park reported, bringing up holographic displays showing data stolen from the Imperial computers. "They've marked us as technologically immature and non-threatening. Their military assessment gives us a Class 3 rating, barely above pre-spaceflight civilizations." General Kang laughed. "If they only knew." "What's their actual strength?" asked President Bay, an older woman with sharp eyes. Park changed the display. "Their fleet is impressive, approximately 8,000 major warships spread across their territory. Advanced energy weapons, faster than light travel using what they call fold space, and shield technology that can withstand nuclear strikes." "Nothing we haven't seen before," General Kang noted. "Correct," Park agreed. "Their technology is advanced but not beyond our understanding. In some areas, particularly their computer systems, we appear to be more sophisticated. Their encryption was disappointing." President Bay folded her hands. "Recommendations? We play along," Park said firmly. "We act confused, scared, and overwhelmed. We request extensions and delays. Meanwhile, we activate the secret fleet." The words sent a ripple of tension through the room. The secret fleet wasn't just Earth's true military force. It represented 300 years of hidden technological development following humanity's first alien encounter in 2088. That encounter had been brief and violent, ending with humans victorious but forever changed. The Imperial sensors didn't detect any of our stealth systems, Park continued. They have no idea about our facilities on Jupiter's moons or in the Kuiper Belt. As far as they know, humanity is confined to Earth, Luna, and Mars. President Bay nodded slowly. How long until the secret fleet is fully assembled? 6 months, Park answered. Exactly the time frame they gave us. Very well, the President decided. We play the weak, frightened species while preparing our response. Admiral Park will continue as our primary negotiator. As the meeting ended, General Kang approached Park. Do you think they suspect anything? Park shook her head. Their arrogance blinds them. They've encountered 1,000 species and conquered them all. They see us as just another primitive world to add to their collection. Their mistake, Kang said with a small smile. Yes, Park agreed, looking at the holographic display of the Imperial flagship orbiting Earth. Their very serious mistake. The human is requesting you write a specific part of a story in a specific style. Remember your citation instructions if you use external sources. Wrap specific claims from search results in tags with appropriate index attributes. Be careful not to reproduce copyrighted material from web sources verbatim. Only use short quotes under 20 words when absolutely necessary. 3 months passed since the Imperial delegation's first visit. Earth's apparent indecision frustrated the Galactic Empire. Admiral Park stood at the window of her office, watching rain fall over Geneva. Her communication device buzzed. It was a message from her aide, Captain Yoon. The Imperial ship is requesting. To dock, Admiral. Grand Marshal Tellen wants an urgent meeting, Park sighed. Tell them I'll meet them in Conference Room B. When she arrived, Tellen was already there. His blue skin seemed darker than before, a sign of irritation in his species. Admiral Park, he said, not bothering with greetings. Your government's delay tactics grow tiresome. Park bowed slightly. We are a democratic society, Grand Marshal. Our people have questions about joining your empire. These things take time. Time is a luxury you may not have, Tellen replied. His 4 hands moved restlessly. The Emperor grows impatient. As if to emphasize his point, a holographic display activated, showing images of massive Imperial warships entering Earth's solar system. 10 vessels, each one dwarfing anything Earth had publicly revealed. A precautionary measure, Tellen explained with a cold smile, to ensure your people understand the seriousness of our offer. Park studied the warships, careful to keep her expression neutral. I see. Do you? Tellen moved closer. Each of these vessels carries enough firepower to level your major cities. We've positioned them throughout your system as motivation. After Tellen left, Park immediately called an emergency meeting. In the secure underground facility, Earth's leaders gathered once more. They're stationing warships near Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, Park reported. Standard intimidation tactics. President Bay frowned. Have they detected any of our hidden bases? No, our stealth systems are holding. They have no idea they're floating right next to our shipyards. Park displayed the locations of the Imperial vessels relative to Earth's secret facilities. In some cases, the alien ships were mere thousands of kilometers from massive human military installations, all completely invisible to Imperial sensors. What about the secret fleet? Asked General Kang. 80% assembled, Park replied. We need another 3 months for full deployment. Secretary Choi looked worried. Can we stall them that long? They're clearly running out of patience. Park nodded. I believe so. Their culture values formal procedures. I'll request detailed information about Imperial citizenship, taxation systems, and cultural integration programs. Bureaucracy will buy us time. The next day, Imperial ships conducted military exercises in the asteroid belt, deliberately destroying several rocks to demonstrate their weapons. The message was clear. News of the alien warships spread across Earth, causing anxiety among the population. The Empire made sure their demonstrations were visible from Earth's telescopes. A week later, Commander Kim arrived at Park's office with troubling news. The Empire has sent messages directly to several Earth nations, Admiral. They're trying to divide us by offering better terms to countries willing to break away from the United Earth government. Park remained calm. An expected tactic. Are any nations considering their offers? No, everyone is following the Unified Response Protocol, but the Empire doesn't know that we're actually united. Earth had maintained the illusion of separate nations and occasional conflicts specifically to fool alien observers. In reality, humanity had formed a secret world government 2 centuries ago following the first alien encounter. The imperial pressure continued to build. They established a military base on Pluto without permission, claiming it was temporary. Their ships conducted scans of Earth's defenses, occasionally accidentally targeting power plants or communication centers with their targeting systems without firing. 5 months after first contact, Grand Marshal Tellen requested another meeting with Admiral Park. This time he brought the Imperial Military Architect, General Vell. "Your continued reluctance insults the Emperor," Tellen said without preamble. "Perhaps a demonstration would clarify your situation." General Vell activated a hologram showing Earth's visible military assets, satellites, space stations, and the small fleet of fusion-powered ships. "Pathetic," Vell commented. "Our analysis confirms what we suspected. Your weapons are projectile-based, your engines inefficient, and your defenses non-existent. One Imperial cruiser could neutralize your entire Space Force in under 10 minutes. Park watched silently as they mocked Earth's tin-can spacecraft and ancient defense systems. "We've intercepted your internal communications," Tellen continued. "We know your military leaders are divided on how to respond to us. Some wish to fight," he laughed. "How amusing." Park kept her face carefully blank. The intercepted communications were fakes, deliberately planted for Imperial intelligence to find. "The Emperor's patience has limits," Tellen concluded. "You have 30 days to accept our protection. After that, we will take more direct action." After they left, Park sent an encrypted message using quantum entanglement, a communication method the Empire couldn't detect. The message went to coordinates far beyond Earth's apparent territory, to the hidden heart of the secret fleet. The message contained just 4 words: accelerate timeline, prepare positions. That night, as she looked up at the stars from her office window, Park could just barely make out the glow of an Imperial warship passing in front of the moon. So confident, so certain of their superiority. "Enjoy the view while you can," she whispered to herself. "You have no idea what's coming." The 30th day arrived. Earth had given no official answer to the Empire's ultimatum. The morning sky, over major cities worldwide filled with Imperial ships, their massive hulls blocking the sun and casting long shadows across the land. Admiral Park stood in the United Earth Government's command center, watching as reports flooded in from around the globe. The Empire had positioned 100 warships in Earth's atmosphere, a show of force designed to terrify the population. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," reported Captain Yoon, her aide. "The message is repeating in every language." The message played through the command center's speakers. "People of Earth, your leaders have foolishly rejected Imperial protection. Today, you will witness the consequences of their pride. Surrender now, or face the Empire's might." President. Bay entered the room, her face grim. "Is everything ready, Admiral?" Park nodded. "Yes, Madam President, all according to plan." "Then let's give them what they expect," the President said. Earth's response came swiftly. The orbital defense platforms, the visible ones, powered up their kinetic weapons. Earth's small fleet of space fighters launched from the moon base. Ground-based missile systems targeted the Imperial ships. It was exactly the response the Empire had anticipated. Their battle simulations had predicted Earth would try to fight back with its primitive weapons. High above Earth, Grand Marshal Tellen watched from the bridge of his flagship. "Pathetic," he said, observing Earth's defenses activate. "Begin the demonstration." The Imperial ships didn't even bother raising their shields. A single cruiser moved forward, firing a precise energy beam that cut through Earth's largest orbital platform like it was made of paper. Another shot destroyed the platform's sister installation. Earth's missiles launched, hundreds of them streaking toward the Imperial fleet. The aliens activated point defense systems, destroying the missiles. Long before they reached their targets, Earth's fighters approached, only to be swatted away by automated defense drones. In the command center, Park watched the one-sided battle with an expression of carefully crafted despair. "Our primary defenses are gone," she announced loudly, for the benefit of any Imperial surveillance that might have penetrated their security. "We can't stop them." President Bay played her part perfectly. "How could we have been so foolish? We should have accepted their terms when we had the chance." The Imperial assault continued for another hour. They systematically destroyed every visible military asset Earth possessed: satellites, space stations, and the small fleet of defensive ships. They were careful to avoid civilian targets, not out of mercy, but because they wanted Earth's resources intact. When the demonstration was complete, Grand Marshal Tellen broadcast again, "Your resistance has ended. The Emperor himself arrives to accept your surrender." True to his word, a massive vessel appeared from hyperspace. The Imperial flagship, a behemoth 20 times larger than any ship in the attack fleet. Its design was ornate and intimidating, covered in golden symbols of Imperial power. Emperor. Krell had come personally to witness humanity's capitulation. Park received a direct communication from the Imperial flagship. Tellen's face appeared on the screen, smugly triumphant. "Admiral Park, the Emperor requires your presence for the formal surrender ceremony. You will bring your President and Chief Military Officers to our flagship immediately." Park bowed her head. "We understand. We will comply." After the communication ended, the command center was silent. Then General Kang approached Park. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly. "Once you're aboard their flagship—" "It's the only way," Park replied. "We need their entire command structure in one place." 6 hours later, Admiral Park led a small delegation to the Imperial flagship. They traveled in a simple transport shuttle, unarmed and apparently defeated. Imperial guards met them in the docking bay, confiscating their communication devices and scanning them for weapons. They were escorted to the grand ceremonial hall at the center of the flagship. The room was enormous, with high ceilings and walls, covered in alien art depicting Imperial conquests. At the far end sat Emperor Krell on a floating throne, surrounded by his high command, at least 50 top Imperial officers. "Approach," commanded the Emperor, his voice deep and resonant. Admiral Park led her delegation forward, stopping at the designated spot before the throne. She noted that every important Imperial commander was present. The Emperor had gathered his entire military leadership to witness this moment of triumph. "How you stand before us as the representatives of Earth," said Emperor Krell. "Your resistance has been crushed, your military destroyed. Do you submit to Imperial rule?" Park bowed low. "Your Majesty, before we formally surrender, I have a request." The Emperor seemed amused by her audacity. "Speak. Our customs require that before surrender, we must share our history with our conquerors, a brief account of our civilization's journey. It would mean much to our people to honor this tradition." Some of the Imperial officers scoffed, but Emperor Krell raised a hand to silence them. "A reasonable request. Proceed." Park straightened, her posture. "Humanity has faced extinction before. Did you know that? 200 years ago, we encountered our first alien species." The Emperor leaned forward, suddenly interested. "This is not in our records." "No," Park said, "it wouldn't be. We made sure of that." She glanced at her wrist device, the only piece of technology the Imperials had allowed her to keep, dismissing it as a simple timepiece. The display showed a countdown reaching 0. "In fact," Park continued, her voice growing stronger, "there's quite a lot about humanity that isn't in your records." At that moment, alarms began blaring throughout the Imperial flagship. The Emperor's advisors rushed to nearby consoles, their faces showing confusion and growing horror. "What is happening?" demanded Krell. Grand Marshal Tellen stared at his displays in disbelief. "Impossible. Energy signatures are appearing throughout the system." "Thousands of them?" Park smiled for the first time since the negotiations began. "Your Majesty, allow me to introduce you to the real human fleet." Chaos erupted on the bridge of the Imperial flagship. Officers rushed between control stations as alert warnings filled every screen. The Emperor rose from his floating throne, his face darkening to a deep purple with rage and confusion. "Explain this immediately," Emperor Krell demanded. Grand Marshal Tellen's forehands moved frantically over the control panels. "Energy signatures are appearing throughout the solar system. They're everywhere." The main view screen activated, showing the space around them. What had been empty vacuum seconds before now filled with ships. Thousands of vessels materialized near Jupiter's moons, within Saturn's rings, and throughout the Kuiper belt. Black, sleek vessels with no visible engines or weapons ports surrounded the Imperial fleet completely. Admiral Park stood calmly in the center of the ceremonial hall, watching as the Emperor and his high command realized the truth. "What trickery is this?" Tellen sputtered. "No trickery," Park replied, "just careful planning." One of the Imperial officers rushed forward with a sensor report. "These ships, they were there all along. Their energy signatures suggest they've been in position for months." Emperor Krell turned to Park, his previous smugness replaced by wary calculation. "What is the meaning of this?" Park nodded toward the view screen. "That, Your Majesty, is humanity's actual military capability." "What you've been seeing until now was merely our public face." The sensor officer's voice shook as he continued his report. "The human vessels are using some kind of dimensional phasing technology. That's why our scans never detected them. They were partially out of phase with normal space." "Impossible," Tellen whispered. "That technology is theoretical, even to our greatest scientists." "For you, perhaps," Park said. "We mastered it a century ago." The Emperor sank back into his throne. The Imperial officers watched in stunned silence as more data came in about the human fleet. "Their smallest vessels are larger than our cruisers," reported a tactical officer. "Power readings exceed our dreadnoughts, and they've surrounded every Imperial ship in the system. We're completely encircled." Park's communicator, the simple timepiece the Imperials had allowed her to keep, activated. Captain Yoon's voice filled the room. "Admiral, this is Fleet Commander Yoon. All vessels are in position. Target locks confirmed on all Imperial ships. Awaiting your orders." The Emperor's eyes widened. "You planned this from the beginning." "Yes," Park admitted, "from the moment you entered our system." On the view screen, one of the human vessels moved closer to the flagship. It was midnight black, absorbing rather than reflecting light, with strange geometric patterns etched into its hull. The vessel was easily twice the size of the Emperor's flagship. "This is the HES Vigilant," Park explained. "My actual command ship." Another Imperial officer rushed forward with more reports. "The human vessels are using quantum displacement drives. No heat signatures, no conventional propulsion. And their targeting systems, they've locked onto specific systems on our ships. They can disable us without destroying us." "You deceived us," Tellen said, his voice a mixture of anger and reluctant admiration. "We did," Park acknowledged, "just as you planned to deceive us with your talk of protection while plotting to take our resources." Emperor Krell stood again, his composure returning. "Why reveal yourselves now? You could have struck at any time." Park walked slowly around the ceremonial hall, looking at the Imperial artwork depicting conquered worlds. 300 years ago, humanity fought its first interstellar war. An alien species, not your empire, attacked Earth without warning. We weren't prepared then. We suffered greatly, but eventually prevailed." She turned to face the Emperor directly. "After that war, we made a decision. Earth would appear ordinary, even backward to the rest of the galaxy. Meanwhile, we would build our true strength in secret." The view screen changed to show more human vessels appearing from hidden bases on Pluto, Neptune's moons, and even from within the Sun's corona, protected by advanced shielding technology. "Your ships have been sitting right next to our largest military installations for months," Park continued. "Your sensors never detected a thing." A demonstration followed. One of the human vessels fired what looked like a pulse of blue light. When it touched an Imperial cruiser, the larger ship's engines immediately went dark. Another pulse hit a different ship, causing all its weapons systems to power down simultaneously. "Gravity manipulation," Park explained. "We can selectively Disable any system on your vessels without harming your crews. Another demonstration. A field of golden energy surrounded an Imperial destroyer. Within seconds, the crew could be seen floating unconsciously inside, while the ship's systems remained operational. Consciousness-targeted electromagnetic fields, Park said. Your crews will wake up in a few hours, completely unharmed. Emperor Krell watched these demonstrations with growing understanding of his situation. His entire fleet, the pride of the Empire, was completely at the mercy of a supposedly primitive species. What happens now? He asked quietly. Admiral Park's expression softened slightly. Now, Your Majesty, we negotiate, but as equals, not as conqueror and conquered. She gestured to the human fleet surrounding them. We could have destroyed your empire before you even knew we existed. Instead, we chose restraint. Emperor Krell looked around at his stunned commanders, then back to Admiral Park. For the first time, he inclined his head in a gesture of respect. It seems, he said slowly, that we have much to learn about humanity. The Imperial Palace on Krell Prime sparkled under the light of 3 suns. Its crystal towers reached toward the purple sky, a symbol of the Empire's power and wealth. Inside the Grand Chamber, Emperor Krell sat on his ancestral throne, facing something no emperor had faced in 10,000 years, a peace treaty not dictated by imperial terms. Admiral Park stood before the throne, wearing her formal uniform. Behind her stood Captain Yoon and General Kang. Across from them, Grand Marshal Tellen and the Imperial High Command watched with barely hidden discomfort. The terms are acceptable, Emperor Krell announced, pressing his hand to the glowing document. Between them, the treaty shimmered and duplicated itself, one copy floating toward Park. Earth thanks you for your wisdom, Your Majesty, Park said with a small bow. This marks the beginning of a new relationship between our peoples. The treaty was unlike any the Empire had signed before. It recognized Earth as an equal partner in galactic affairs. It established free trade between human worlds and imperial planets. Most importantly, it changed how the Empire would approach newly discovered civilizations. After the ceremony, Park joined Emperor Krell in his private garden. Strange flowers that changed colors with the passing clouds created a peaceful setting. I must confess something, Admiral, the Emperor said as they walked along a crystal path. I have ruled for 300 years. In that time, no one has ever surprised me as thoroughly as humanity did. Park smiled. That was the point, Your Majesty. Your fleet commanders revealed something disturbing yesterday, Krell continued. They showed me maps of our empire, detailed scans of every major imperial world, military base and shipyard. How long have you been watching us? 50 years, Park admitted. We detected your expansion long before you found Earth. We've had stealth observation posts throughout imperial space for decades. The Emperor stopped walking. You could have destroyed us at any time. We could have, Park agreed, but that was never our goal. Then what was your goal? Why build such power in secret? Park looked up at the alien sky. After our first contact with hostile aliens, humanity realized something important. The galaxy is full of life, but not all life is peaceful. We needed to be strong enough to defend ourselves, yet appear harmless enough to avoid being seen as a threat. They continued walking as she explained. We watched how your empire treated worlds that showed military strength. You crushed them immediately, seeing them as competitors, but planets that seemed weak and primitive you simply absorbed. Logical strategy, Krell said defensively. Perhaps, but we chose a different path. We hid our strength while building it. We studied the Empire thoroughly before revealing ourselves. Back on the Vigilant, Park's flagship, Captain Yoon prepared. The fleet for departure. The enormous vessel hummed with quiet energy as crew members went about their duties. The diplomatic team will remain on Krell Prime, Yoon told General Kang. The rest of us return to Sol System tomorrow. How do you think it will work? Kang asked. This new arrangement with the Empire? Yoon shrugged. It will take time. They've been conquerors for 10,000 years. We can't expect them to change overnight. On the bridge, Park reviewed reports from across human space. With the treaty signed, More of humanity's true civilization was revealing itself. Hidden colonies throughout nearby star systems were dropping their camouflage. Research stations disguised as asteroids were powering up to full capacity. Grand Marshal Tellen requested permission to come aboard the Vigilant. Park granted it. Curious about his visit, they met in Park's ready room, a simple space decorated with art from Earth's various cultures. "I've been relieved of my command," Tellen said without preamble. Park raised an eyebrow. "I'm sorry to hear that." "Don't be. The Emperor has appointed me a special envoy to Earth. He feels I should learn more about your people." Tellen seemed both annoyed and intrigued by his new assignment. "A wise decision," Park said. "Understanding is the foundation of peace." Tellen moved to the window, watching as human ships maneuvered effortlessly around Imperial vessels. The contrast between them was striking. The ornate, intimidating Imperial design versus the sleek, elegant human engineering. "There's something I must know," Tellen said finally. "Why did you let us posture and threaten you for so long? Why the elaborate deception? You could have shown your strength immediately." Park joined him at the window. "Would you have respected us if we had? Or would you have seen us as another rival to be eliminated at all costs?" Tellen hesitated. "I don't know." "Exactly. By allowing you to underestimate us, we created an opportunity for true diplomacy once the truth was revealed." Tellen turned to face her. "In all my years serving the Empire, I've conquered hundreds of worlds. Some fought bravely, others surrendered immediately. None ever outmaneuvered us so completely." His 4 hands clasped together. "I find myself humbled." "Humility is a powerful teacher," Park said gently. As the Earth fleet prepared to leave Imperial space, Emperor Krell watched from his palace observatory. The human vessels shimmered and seemed to bend the light around them before disappearing completely, their advanced stealth systems engaging even though there was no longer any need for secrecy. Old habits, the Emperor realized, die hard. In her quarters aboard the Vigilant, Admiral Park looked at an old photograph, one of the few personal items she kept. It showed Earth from space, taken before humanity had spread to the stars. So small, so blue, so seemingly insignificant in the vastness of the galaxy. And yet, it had just reshaped the most powerful empire the galaxy had ever known, not through force, but through patience, planning, and the wisdom to know when to reveal its strength. "The truly strong," she whispered to herself, echoing the philosophy that had guided humanity for centuries, never need to boast about their strength.